Hi, David Nicholas of Future Voice of America. We're here with Brigitte Gabriel. She's going to answer just a couple of questions for us, but we appreciate your time. Just want to ask you about the situation for Christians right now, currently in Egypt.
Well, it's very concerning because they are being persecuted a lot by the Muslims. Things are wrapping up, and especially now with what's happening in Egypt with the chaos, we are very concerned that things are going to get out of control, especially with the Muslim Brotherhood is already attacking the Christians. We know that the attacks in the last 2 months, even the military stepped aside and even left as the Muslims, as the Muslim Brotherhood were attacking them in the churches. So now, as we see instability in the country, and we see that the army is taking over, the Muslim Brotherhood is having representations in the military, things are becoming tougher and tougher for the Christians, and they cannot get out. They are stuck.
Right. I know Mubarak was no choir boy, but he did some things to help protect the Coptic Church. Is that correct?
Well, yes, he did some things to help protect the Coptic Church because, you know, Christians are dhimmi under Islam, and as a protected, they have the protected status. But the more we see radical Islam on the rise, especially driven by people like the Muslim Brotherhood, we are seeing a lot of resentment towards the Christians, a lot of resentment by these radicals in the little towns going into Christian churches and killing and attacking the Christians, telling them to leave, with their hope of establishing a solely Islamic society. Well, there are a lot of Christians who cannot leave, who are stuck there. And the sad thing is that they are being persecuted and nobody in the West is really paying attention. And I thank you so much for shining the light on such an important issue, because churches in America are not paying attention to this issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so sad for someone like me who is a Christian from the Middle East to see that the churches in the United States are not saying anything about it.
Right. And if you're a Muslim in Egypt and you decide to convert to Christianity, is that an easy thing to do in Egypt, or is your life almost at risk?
Oh, if you are a Muslim in any Muslim country, Egypt is no different, and who convert to Christianity, you are considered an apostate under the religion, and it is their duty to kill you. And actually, there has been a lot of killing in Egypt of some of those who converted. But what's happening right now in Egypt also is the Muslims are kidnapping Christian Coptic girls, students, and they are raping them, telling their parents that the girl decided to leave because she wants to marry a Muslim man. They're raping her, forcing her to marry a Muslim man, and using the girls simply as breeding ground to bear children. And then they are dumping them after they have 3 children from them. The situation is so dire that when the parents go to the police to ask to speak with the girl, they cannot even see their daughter, they cannot speak to her, and the girls are just disappearing. This is becoming worse in the last 5 years in Egypt. And of course the attacks on the Christians is just very bad.
Yeah. One last question, if that's all right. Do you think this administration is doing all that it can to really stem the problem, or at least see that U.S. interests are still first when it comes to Egypt?
You mean regarding what's happening to the Christians in Egypt?
Christians, and I guess foreign policy, especially with Israel also.
Well, our government right now, the Obama administration, hasn't really done anything to protect the Christians in Egypt. I mean, for a country that we give $1.5 billion a year to, when we heard about the treatment of minorities in Egypt, the first thing the president should have done is basically call President Mubarak and ensure that the Christian minority group in Egypt will be protected. And he has not done that. As to the future of Egypt right now, President Obama betrayed one of our great allies, Mubarak. Mubarak was no saint, but Mubarak was a great ally of the United States. He stood by the peace treaty with Israel. He opened an Israeli embassy in Cairo. He stood by the United States when we went into the first Gulf War. You know, their troops went with our troops. He supplied the United States with intelligence in the last 10 years. And what the United States did right now by basically stabbing Mubarak in the back is sending shivers down the spines of other Arab leaders who are now questioning America's loyalty to them, such as Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Dubai, Bahrain, the Arab Emirates, Jordan, saying if America was so fast in dumping Mubarak under the bus, how fast are they going to be betraying them? And this is why the Saudi king yesterday, while speaking with President Obama, he had actually the most passionate argument with the president more than any other king ever between the history of Saudi Arabia and the United States, and threatened him that if he would humiliate Mubarak worldwide, that Saudi Arabia would step in and fund Egypt with the $1.5 million that America usually funds. And actually now there are reports that the King of Saudi Arabia died shortly after the conversation yesterday with President Obama of a heart attack. Yeah.
Well, Brigitte, we appreciate your time. Great insight, wisdom that the world needs to hear, and especially the church in America needs to hear. Thanks so much.